Well, welcome to the Camp Loll Trek Leader's Guide video presentation. My name is Jody Warham. I'm one of the camp directors up at Camp Loll.
And my name is Leif Connor, and I'm helping with the program at Camp Loll.
We, of course, are going to be going over lots of things here in the video. There's, of course, also a paper leader's guide that is there on the website as well. We hope that you'll take time to peruse that, but just want to let you know if there's any questions you end up having or anything that that pops up along the way that you feel free to please contact us through the contact information that's provided below the video links here, and we'll be happy to return any of your emails and answer your questions to the best of our ability. I want to start off by talking about what we hope our mission is with your groups as we trek across some of the most beautiful wilderness in this beautiful land of ours. And that is the mission of the Scouting BSA. It is our hope that as a camp staff to help your units be successful throughout their goals and missions throughout the rest of the year. What a great place to come and to be able to end up getting to know better your God as you spend a wonderful week in this beautiful place that he made, to see this beautiful country that we are attempting to better understand and serve, and of course opportunities to serve each other. What a great place to end up reinforcing the scouting values of duty to God, duty to country, and service to others, and keeping ourselves mentally awake, morally straight, and physically strong in there too. And so again, with that in mind, again, we have a great adventure that we look forward to. Of course, to help us make sure that we can fulfill all of the obligations we have, I would remind you of the fee paying structure. We ask that by mid-May that you have at least half of your fees paid so that we know that you're coming, and because that's about the time we start buying the food and hiring the guides will already be hired and the trainings that they will be going through. The second half of the fee should be paid at least 2 weeks before your arrival to make sure again that all is in order. One of the many things that you want to do as you're getting ready to prepare your group for this trek is on the website utahscouting.org. There's some links on the right hand side, and one of them is a bear video that's been put together by the Forest Service. I want to make sure that as we head into bear country that we're aware of the things that we can do to be safe and keep the bears safe as well as we wander around in the woods. So we ask as a group, the best thing to do is to get everyone together and watch that all at the same time, to be able to answer questions and be able to come prepared to live in bear country. As we already mentioned, the things we're about ready to talk about is in the leader's guide. But I do want to, again, make an opportunity for you to understand that let's start with Monday arrival. Our hope that on your scheduled week that you would arrive sometime before noon on Monday. This will give us an opportunity to be able to get you nestled into a campsite that you'll be staying in as we're getting ready to leave the next morning, give an opportunity to take swim checks and other things. We'd ask that as you arrive, that you immediately send an adult leader up to check in into the main lodge. And of course, when they check in, they'll be bringing all of the physicals. It's very important that everyone has a up-to-date within the last 12 months physical signed by a doctor to make sure they can participate in these activities. So please come prepared to check in that way. Remember the 2 deep leadership as you travel and as you end up coming into camp and as we hike out on the trail together. Please take the opportunity too, as you're getting ready to have this grand adventure in either Yellowstone National Park, Grand Teton National Park, or the beautiful Jedediah Smith Wilderness area, that you take some time to use some of our meeting time to go over things like proper footwear, to talk about the art of layering when one's hiking, the idea of camp equipment, proper equipment, and camping etiquette. Also, again, take the opportunity to go on some of these practice hikes so that you have the ability groups and that you know that as you head out on the trail, no day should take you more than 10 miles, most of them around 6 or 7 miles. And most of the hikes approach around 30 miles by the time you're all done, some a little bit more than that. But those are some of the things that we'll want to make sure that our groups are prepared for, so that they can have a great time out as they're soaking in the beautiful wilderness that we have. Some other things, of course, you want to review if it's something that would be appropriate. Remember that while you're there in camp, you might be having a campfire. You want to make sure you go over the knife and axe safety, the fire safety, bears, of course, and proper food storage. We have bear boxes that you'll be using while you're in camp, but when you're out on the trail, you either be bear bagging per the requirements of Yellowstone, or using the certified bear canisters that we will provide, and make sure you know how those work. And of course, the importance of making sure that we're always safe from the bears. We want to review, and we will, of course, go over these things with you as well, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to make sure you understand the forest and park rules and regulations when it comes to being in the backcountry. And we'd just like to say at this time what a wonderful relationship that we have with both our park and our Forest Service. They're on our side, taking care of this beautiful wilderness so that we can go and play in it. And again, we're very grateful to them, as we are to you, as you come and play in this woods that we own together. Of course, some of the things that we'll learn is not only how to be safe ourselves, but also how to keep the wilderness safe, low impact camping, no trace camping, and wilderness ethics. Of course, the equipment list. There are some things that we provide if they're needed at camp. We, of course, have some beautiful backpacking stoves. We have water filters, some small, cooking type of equipment, spoons, etc. But most of the as you get into camp too, you'll have an opportunity your first dinner together on Monday to cook all together, to make sure you're familiar with how the stoves end up working. And usually everyone's paired off into groups of 2, which makes it really nice as you're getting ready to go. Please make sure that everyone brings any of their prescription medicine. Make sure that we don't forget that as we're heading out into the woods. Also, you'd want to contact camp and let us know if anyone in your group has any special dietary restrictions or food allergies, to make sure that we're well prepared in order to take care of them as they're out in the woods together. Firewood, while you're in camp, if you wish, you can end up keeping a fire as long as it's reasonable sized and in the designated fire pit. And of course, there's no fire restrictions currently. But once we're out on our treks, we're very proud at Camp Loll. We don't light fires, even in places where we can, using our stoves. And of course, setting an example to all others out there about how to go out into the woods with the minimal impact possible. And of course, by not having fires, of course, we make less of a footprint, which makes our places look even more beautiful because of our willingness to make that sacrifice, which is no sacrifice at all. While in camp, of course, we have the kaibos, we have bathrooms there, but out in the woods, there's pit toilets in some places not, where you will follow the rules and regulations of the Yellowstone National Park or Grand Teton National Park, or the Jedediah Smith Wilderness, which we'll talk to you as you end up arriving. We do have beautiful showers, which of course we'll get you a time all signed up. So when you come down out of the mountains, we'll have a shower ready for you. We have a trading post where you can get things before you go, and hope that you'll grab some things as you're getting ready to leave. The drive-in is there are links in the leader's guide to explain how to get up into our beautiful woods there in Wyoming, but we are nestled in between Grand Teton National Park and Yellowstone National Park. And again, about 300 miles from Salt Lake City. There is, as you approach, you get about 27 miles from camp, it becomes a dirt road, and you want to be prepared for that. The road, if you go slow, is very kind. It's going slow is not only good for your tires, but I would remind you it's very good to make sure you're watching out for your neighbors. The road is narrow, and perhaps in some places not adequate room for 2 cars to pass each other comfortably. So go slow and make sure everyone arrives safely. Let's see, again, and one of the other things that you should be talking about with each other is that no trace ethics. Again, as we teach these individuals not only principles of duty to God, country, and service to others, but we tie in how a great way to take care of your country is to take care of its beautiful resources. That's part of our thrifty. And so we look forward to end up learning those type of things together as we go out into these beautiful woods. we need to talk to, Leif needs to talk to us now about some of the specific things about the schedule that you'll be adhering to once you arrive in the camp.
Thanks, Jody. So if you're doing any of the 3 trek options, some of the first day is going to be identical. So we'll just go through a little bit of the first day. As Jody mentioned, to arrive in camp by noon gives you time to set up camp and prepare for a swim check, taking your swim check, and then at 4:30 being in the lodge for the orientation meeting. And during that meeting, we will have a review of leave no trace and bear safety. There will also be a review of the specific trek options, and you'll have time to look at the map of the trek with your trek guide, the guide that will be taking you out. You can look at where your campsites are and be able to see the distances. We make reservations for campsites in Beckler, the Yellowstone, and in the Grand Teton hike, and on the Jedi Smith Wilderness hike. We'll be camping in the wilderness, and also when we're hiking this year through the Teton crest, we'll be going on the crest but camping in the wilderness, and that and I'll explain what that means in just a minute. So the Monday after the orientation meeting, after you've had a chance to review your hiking itinerary, you will have a practice cook session. So the first night in camp, you'll get out all the stoves and the cooking equipment and things that you'll be taking with you on the hike, and you'll use that to cook your first dinner in camp. And then we'll have, for those that are interested in attending and participating in a campfire program, we'll have that after dinner on Monday night. You'll want to have everything packed and ready to go Tuesday morning. You'll all come to the lodge at 6 o'clock on Tuesday morning for your breakfast and preparation for departure. It's an early departure because it is a drive to get to these locations, and each direction is about 2-hour drive to get to Beckler from Camp Loll, and about the same distance to get to the trailheads for Jedi Smith and for the Teton Crest. And so we would ask you to be ready then to drive over to those trailhead destinations, and the hike guide will come with you. We have then when this is where it starts to break out, where you'll have a different thing for each trek. So I'm just going to go in the alphabetical order, starting with Beckler in the Yellowstone. All of these hikes that we are offering at Camp Loll are rated as top hikes by Backpacker Magazine, and we love them all. People ask me all the time, which is your favorite trek? And Jody and I use the same line, whichever one we're on at the time. And I've done them all and love them. And Jody has explored and loves these areas. He was a trek guide when I was a young child, and so he's so much more experienced than me. But we're going to be going to Beckler. You start at the ranger station, you will end at the ranger station. So you leave your vehicle there through the week, so you can come right back to it. The first day's hike, you'll cross the meadow and hike over towards Beckler Canyon. And we put in a reservation to try to get you the campsite at the mouth of the canyon, which is 9B4. And that is the one we're hoping that you'll have. I say hoping because there are always contingencies. The campsites can change even up until the day that you pick up your permit, depending on the conditions of the rivers and conditions of wildlife in the area. So we just need to be a little bit flexible. But this is a trek we hope for, and it will be the same for each group going to Beckler. 9B4 will be the first campsite night, which is right at the mouth of Beckler Canyon. The next, that's about 8 miles from the ranger station to that campsite. Then you would hike on the second day up to about 9B6, which is about 3 miles with your packs and with your gear, and you'll set up camp at 9B6, which sets you up to do a hike from 9B6 up to what is called the Three Rivers Junction, also known as Ferris Fork or Mr. Bubbly, which is the hot springs in the middle of the river, which is so one of the funnest places to go and be with your troop to go. That's a hike from 9B6 there and back of about 11 miles. So that would be a good day hike. You want to take your lunch with you and some water, your swimsuit, and be ready. Along the way, you'll ford the Beckler River several times to get up to that location. So make sure you have sandals for crossing the rivers. You'll also need to ford rivers every day of the hike in Beckler. So it's sandals that you can put on when you get to the river crossings is very important. Then you'll come back down to camp and cook dinner that evening. In the morning, you'll pack up. From 9B6, you'll hike to 9A3, and that's the campsite at Nanda Falls. That's a distance of about 9 miles. And so you'll hike over to Nanda Falls. The campsite is overlooking the falls, and at the base of Nanda Falls is hot springs lining the sides of the river, and you can swim there. So for that arriving in camp, and then you'll have time that last morning, whatever time you guys decide to spend there before you hike back. And from 9A3 back to the ranger station is 8 miles. So that puts you about 8 miles for the 3 days, 8 or 9 miles for the 3 days. And then the one day with a longer day hike is about 14 miles on that day. And then what you'll do, get back to the ranger station and drive back to camp, and we'll have a shower waiting for you and dinner with the staff in the lodge on that Friday night. And that's a great celebration of your return as well. For the next one we're going to do is Jedediah Smith Wilderness. The Jedediah Smith Wilderness adventure is the most flexible of all of our treks, because in the wilderness there are not designated campsites, and so each group that goes out into the wilderness picks their own sites to camp and their own places. But we do have a set starting place, and that's the same as the ending place. And that's at the North Lee trailhead, and that's just up from the town of Teutonia. So you would drive over to North Lee trailhead and you park your vehicles there. On the first day, you start out on the trail up over what's called the Tin Cup Trail, and you're hiking up along the Tin Cup Trail towards Granite Basin. And Granite Basin has a big lake there. So from the trailhead to that lake is about 7 miles. And we've had crews that take that full 7 miles and camp at Granite Lake. We've had others that camp somewhere along the way. When they find a stream or river that they want to stay at, they camp somewhere along the way. So it's really is flexible, but a distance of about 7 miles. The first day would get you to Granite Basin Lake. And then from Granite Basin Lake over to the Green Lakes area is just of a distance of about 3 miles. And so you can hike over and camp in Green Lakes Basin, which has, there are lakes everywhere there. And you're just on the west side at that point of looking over Mount Moran. So if you were to go up to an overlook, you would look right down into right in the back of Mount Moran, and just to the south of where you would be looking over into the North Fork of Cascade Canyon. So you can those overlooks of the down into the heart of the Tetons it's a beautiful place. You can hike up and see those overlooks, and then camp at one of the lakes, one of the many lakes that's in Green Lakes area. And most troops then spend 2 nights in Green Lakes Canyon, where you can just leave your tents in the same spot for 2 nights if you want, and just explore, take a day and explore the area around there. That's there was another canyon called Badger Creek Canyon, which you could hike to further north. That's a distance of about 5 miles, and there's a river that runs down through that canyon. Like I said, they're the overlooks. A lot of the troops decide to spend that day swimming in the springs and rivers and lakes within that valley, and don't hike very far at all on that 3rd day. The 4th day, you would pack up and come back from that Green Lakes area down to the trailhead at North Lake Canyon, and that's a distance of about 5 miles down. So this is our distance-wise our shortest hike, as well as our most flexible in terms of itinerary. And so It is in the wilderness, so everything is leave no trace. There will be no fires, and every campsite you do not build or create any type of sign that you were there. When you leave your campsite, it should look like you found it with nothing there. There are not fire pits or rings that you're looking for, or even toilets or pit toilets or anything. It's all wilderness camping. When we go to the any of the treks, I should say, we don't really build fires. That's part of our leave no trace ethic as scouts, is being careful with fire. And the impact of fire is not just the burning of the fire itself, but it's also collecting of wood and the scar that it leaves in the ground where a fire pit was. So we have this backpacking stoves, but we don't build fires on any of our treks. The third trek is to the Teton Crest. And where it happens on this trek is that you would drive down to Death Canyon, is where this trek begins, the Death Canyon Trailhead. And from Camp Loll to Death Canyon Trailhead, which is on the Wilson Road, is of about 2 hours. And what we do here is we arrange for some type of a shuttle transport, whether that happens on Monday or Tuesday when you drop off, or whether that happens on Friday when you're picked up. Because on the Teton Crest, you start at Death Canyon Trailhead, but you end up at Jenny Lake. And so there will need to be some type of arrangement, and you can work with the drivers that you have in your group, as well as working with the camp staff to arrange for the type of shuttling service that you need, so that you have vehicles at both trailheads, or at least at the trailhead that you're going to end up at. And then what we do in that first day is you'll hike up Death Canyon until you get to the Fox Creek Pass, which is in the Jedi Smith Wilderness. So the Teton National Park goes right along the ridge line of the Teton Crest. So as you have to hike through the park all the way up, and as you hike along the Teton Crest, you go in and out of the wilderness. When you're in the wilderness, we can camp in any of those wilderness places. So the Fox Creek Pass has many options to choose from. There's not a designated campsite because it's in the wilderness area. So you'll find a spot to camp at Fox Creek Pass. There is a place where there's a small lake there, and you can camp there. Then the next day you'll hike over to Alaska Basin. And Alaska Basin's also in the wilderness. And it is from Death Canyon Trailhead up to Fox Creek Pass is about 9 miles. And that's a climb throughout the day, not a consistent climb, because you'll go up and then you have some nice flat and then you go up. Towards the end, there's a climb to get up to Fox Creek Pass. When you're hiking from Fox Creek over to Alaska Basin, it's pretty level, and then you'll drop down into Alaska Basin on that second day. And I would say that's probably 6 or 7 miles, depending on how far you hike in Alaska Basin, because you can camp right when you enter the basin, or you can camp on the other side. You can have the choice of staying in one place for 2 nights in Alaska Basin, or camping in 2 different spots within Alaska Basin. We'll spend Wednesday and Thursday night in the basin there camping. And then between that day, we have some recommended activities as well. One is hiking up to Static Peak or Static Peak Divide. If you go all the way up to Static Peak and back to Alaska Basin, you're hiking about 9 miles in that day. If you're going just up to the divide, it's about half of that distance. And that gives you an opportunity to look out over the valley. And if you do go to the peak, then you get the experience of being to the summit of one of the peaks on the Teton Range, looking out over the east side over Jackson and in the Grand Teton National Park. And to the north, you'll see the views there. On the final day, you'll leave Alaska Basin. And if you're camped near the Sunset Lake, which is on the far north side of Alaska Basin, then that puts you the closest to the destination at Jenny Lake. And then you'll hike up over Hurricane Pass. So you start out going uphill that last day. When you reach Hurricane Pass and you look down into Cascade Canyon, the rest of the trip from that point down is either flat or downhill. And so you'll hike down through Cascade Canyon right at the base of the Grand Teton, and just looking up through that area, there's a river you walk along all throughout that day. And then you get back to the fork where the trail goes to Jenny Lake or to String Lakes, and the trailheads there are two trailheads, depending on where you've left your vehicle or where you're meeting. You'll either end up at String Lake or Jenny Lake trailhead. And from Alaska Basin to those trailheads is about 13 miles. So that's the longest day. The first part of it being uphill, and then the most part of it being downhill. And the reason for those campsites is because of the arrangement we've been able to make with Teton National Park, is that as a group, we're able to hike through the park along the Teton crest, but we need to camp in the wilderness, and we appreciate that they're helping us to figure out how to make that possible. So that would be what that would look like. Again, I said Friday you arrive back in camp in the early afternoon. We have showers set aside for you to take showers during that time when you get back before dinner. And then we have a campfire program that final night, which is exciting after dinner. And then Saturday morning, as you pack up and prepare to depart, we will celebrate your departure with breakfast as well on Saturday morning. As Jody had mentioned before, there's a lot of things that we hope that you'll experience at Camp Loll, that it supports your scouting program, that it advances your goals of as a troop and as individuals of personal growth, of reinforcing the values of scouting, duty to God and to a country and service to others. And some of the things that we are honored to be able to provide with you is this trek program, along with a guide who will be a great role model to you and your troop, someone that is experienced in the wilderness, who knows these treks and who has used the equipment and knows how to do these things safely. Also, they've had training from the Park Service as well as from the Forest Service and the Fish and Game about bear safety and about leave no trace camping. They can teach you many great things that will be valuable to you throughout your life, as well as becoming a friend and a true support to you in your trek. We really think that the staff is the best thing we have to offer you, because they are the people that are the Scouts' mothers will want them to grow up and be like. And we're so happy to serve you this summer. As Jody mentioned, if you have any questions, please reach out to us, and we will we'll do our best to help you be prepared for your trek this summer.
Looking forward to seeing you during the summer of 2022.
Thank you.